What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the pond. We're back with your two favorite koi fish, ready for the most exhilarating week that you've seen us do yet. There is nothing but news, and excitement planned up for this episode. And by that, I mean there's not dick to talk about. And we're here for it. You know what? We saw this coming. Joined by my co-host, the Jinja legend himself.
Good evening.
Koi.
Good evening. Welcome. Colin, how are you today?
Bit of a lull of a week so far. Nothing too exciting, but
Moving along.
What are you going to do?
Swimmingly,
Swimmingly. It's supposed to be a great couple days. You know, who knows? It is what it is.
Yep.
How's your week been so far? Getting through it?
Pretty good. It's been hectic, but, moving along. Weather's getting a little better out, like you said, so that's...
The seasonal depression isn't kicking in too hard.
No.
Yet, at least.
It's more about the post-NFL season blues now, I think.
You know, this last Sunday was pretty sad.
It was.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I take football for granted, and I always count down the weeks as the Super Bowl approaches, but then when you get to this point, before the Combine, after the Super Bowl, you know, it's depressing. Let's be honest. And then it wasn't even NBA because they had the All-Star game this past weekend, which I think had a combined almost 400 points or over 400 points scored.
I didn't see it. Wow.
It was goofy. I enjoyed watching it. But yes, this is the depression if you're an NFL fan. If you're an NBA fan, it was depressing because you only had the All-Star game to watch. And if you're a baseball fan, off yourself. It's not there yet. So it's been a bit sad.
And you won't care even when it does get here, right?
But what we do have for you this week is we're going to be going over the 2010 draft and giving it somewhere between our opinions and teams' grades on how we feel. We'll kind of walk through. We're only going to do the first round. We're not going to bore you to death with any of the other stuff, but we will talk about who else was in this draft that's not mentioned. So it'll be a fun episode. I think we're going to talk about a few things before that, but just so you know what's to come, we're fill in the blank.
Yeah, we do have to kind of get up to speed as far as like the draft's coming up before long. First, we have to go through like the Combine. We'll do reviews of some players, standouts and stuff, and start getting ready for that, and again ultimately getting ready for the new season. As we just noticed yesterday, the franchise tag season in the NFL starts. And so teams begin to get their cap number in order. And one of the first things is redoing contracts, franchise tagging people, so they can play that game with the cap number and get under their max.
And there's already teams doing it because, like you said, they have to get last season cleaned up before they start the new season, which kind of starts with the Combine, more or less. So it's just a whole thing of, you know, it's like when they trade picks for the 2029 draft this year. There'll be a team that does it. You'll see someone move up in the draft, and it's all kind of, you know, give and take because they are also increasing the salary cap.
They are
to $250, I believe.
I forget what it is, but it's
somewhere in there.
But it grows so much per year anymore that it's almost laughable. Because really, I mean, it still allows the teams that have the money and want to spend the money to pretty much do what they want. Not without repercussions down the road. So it's not like there's no cap. But you still have a lot of teams who have, you know, I don't know, $100 million to spend. And I don't know offhand who those teams are, but I think Washington's one. The Chargers probably have cap room. The Bears, I think, have a lot of cap room.
Well, Chargers are above it right now.
They're above it.
Sorry,
okay.
I completely let this slide. But yeah, like you said,
and
it's kind of it feels almost fake, but it's not. It's a really crazy concept when you're dealing with that much money. Because a couple years ago, Taysom Hill signed a crazy deal that really wasn't legit, but in the moment it works. And then they, you know, voided the last 8 years or something crazy.
So essentially, like in the case of the Cowboys, of course, which I know the best for me, but Dak is going to count $60 million toward the Cowboys cap this season, which means if they did nothing, you know, and the big argument is he didn't win anything, they lost to the Packers, you know, how are you going to extend? Well, the point is you have one of two choices. You either hack him here, draft a quarterback, and start over with the rookie contract, which is not a bad way to go, or you got to extend him and spread that number out. You know, so but you can't do nothing, and that's the thing when you get down to the finances of it. If the Cowboys did nothing and allocated $60 million of a $250 million cap, well, you're not going to bring a lot of players in to help out. So
because they see it as well as the rest of us do.
Got to do the deal. So, like you're saying, fans are going to freak out about extending, but if you don't extend, the proverbial going all in can't happen.
Right.
Because you don't have enough money.
It's such a different thing. And, as fans, we're supposed to overreact. It causes headlines. That's what they like. But in reality, it's all going to be fine. Yeah. Don't read into it too much. It's not like they're not going to allow an NFL team to play because they're at whatever spot.
Right.
So it's just, figuring that out.
That's the bulk of what everybody says. It's like, everyone's like, oh, how the cap and all this and, worry and all these things. And most people, all the media says, they find a way. They massage the numbers.
They're all businessmen
they make it happen,
in billion-dollar company.
Yep.
Trust me, they know more than any of us do.
Yep.
Even though the media might report something.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but on some, on the news we can report on, or not report. We're not reporters. We're stooges. But news that has happened. If you're a Cincinnati fan, it sounds like Tyler Boyd will be let go, and T. Higgins will get the franchise tag. Is what's being heard. It's not official.
Right. The other big one is Saquon Barkley.
Yes. Come to the
probably
Chargers.
Being a cap casualty.
Yes.
So there's all kinds of rumors about where he may go.
Because they tagged him last year to keep him.
Tagged him last year. They could tag him again, but it sounds like they're going to go with Xavier McKinney, who's the safety, I believe.
I think you're right.
So they're going to go a different route with that, and it makes sense. I mean, really, running backs, you're not wanting to get beyond that first, maybe second contract at the most.
Especially if it doesn't seem like they're happy. That effort's not going to be there.
Yeah.
And the Giants are kind of poverty, kind of not poverty right now. They're at a real weird spot coming out of last season.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't hate if Barkley went to the Chargers, but at the same time, I wouldn't hate if they just got a new running back. I mean, it sucks I feel bad for running backs, but it's kind of the new thing is, after that 5 years, you kind of just throw them away. Like they're single-use vapes. It sucks, but what are you gonna do?
I think it's Blake Corum that's coming out of Michigan. Guy's 5'8" and like 220.
Yeah.
So he's short and compact.
Well, I mean, Michigan had that dual running back system that Detroit had. Basically, it felt like. But not to cut you off.
No. So Corum, would be somebody as I'm doing my mock drafts. Corum is somebody that is very appealing. From that size. And then you also got, I think, Braden Allen from Wisconsin, 6'1", like 220.
Damn.
He is like Derrick Henry too.
Oh Jesus!
So
just what we need.
You got a couple of good ones, coming out, and you're going to get some retreads moving around Barkley and of course Henry as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, Derrick Henry hasn't signed anywhere yet, has he? So that's still in the works somewhere.
And he's moving on. So
he already announced
that's a done deal.
Done.
So. That'll be fascinating to see too. So there's another possibility.
Yeah. And then Gabe Davis, I think, is leaving the Bills officially, or it's expected. Sorry, none of this is official. All expectations. Who knows if it's right? We're just things that caught our eye.
Yep.
But that would be interesting to see where Gabe Davis goes, because you could argue he could be a wide receiver 1 on a bad team, but he could be the best wide receiver 2 on any team that he wants to go to, I bet.
Great downfield threat. Guy really has had the ability to make separation and create opportunities for Stephon Diggs.
I was going to say, you have that wide receiver 1 that takes the double team, and he's single coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a solid person to have there.
Really is.
So having Tyler Boyd and Gabe Davis out in the market, it'll be interesting to see where they go. But
that's the thing typically about receivers is usually it's the third year. It takes them till the third year to really kind of come into their own. When you're picking receivers for fantasy football, you always want to look at year 3 receivers because it takes them a couple of years to get in the groove. So you could draft one, but you might be waiting a year or two, or you can make one of these pickups that Colin's talking about.
And the crazy thing, too, is the popular thing now is all these wide receivers coming out of the college are ready and doing amazing, aside from Quentin Johnson, son of a bitch. But he'll have a breakout here. But, it's like it'll be interesting to see who picks him up and how they pick him up when there's all these wide receivers people are still saying are in the draft that you can get cheap.
Yeah.
So that'll kind of show its ugly face.
The other back that's supposed to be out there is Josh Jacobs. Yeah. That's another big name that I've heard floating
and Joe
around
Mixon.
Too. Yeah, Joe Mixon too, huh?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Interesting.
Somebody comment if I'm dead wrong.
Yeah.
There's a chance I am, but I thought I heard that there was not issues, but maybe it was sounding like they weren't going to get a deal done.
Yeah.
But I based on what I've heard from Bengals fans, they may not even want him. So who knows?
The other interesting one is, of course, Kirk Cousins wanting to get guaranteed money and not being offered guaranteed money by the Vikings.
Justin Jefferson wanting to know who the quarterback is.
Kirk Cousins could very well be out there and about.
Yeah.
Maybe New England gets him. He would be a massive upgrade in New England. A few other quarterback-starved teams.
Yeah.
What are the Bears going to do with Justin Fields?
It's still in the air.
They trade that. Do they trade that pick? Do they trade Justin Fields and keep the pick? I still personally lean toward. I like Justin Fields, but I think for kind of starting over still, they're still kind of starting again. I think.
If you get a new head coach, I think you get the quarterback. But because they kept Eberflus, or however you say his name,
that's right.
I say you just keep Justin Fields. Given if he gets hurt, you're fucked, because then it's kind of apparent that he's an injury-prone quarterback. But with that O-line, I can't blame him. I don't know.
Yeah. I think they're going to – I get what you're saying, and I agree with that perspective too. I could see it. But getting that rookie contract to give you those 3 or 4 years to build the team – I think they're not going to be able to resist it, and they're going to get something from Atlanta or somebody like that and trade him.
Oh, well. Yeah, I think Atlanta now is the favorite for him to go to.
Is it?
But a lot of people are basing all their news off of who they follow on Instagram, which is kind of bullshit.
It's not news. It's not media. It's not inside. It's not
even
reporting.
It is funny, but it's not much.
Every time I flip on YouTube, and of course I go right to all the Dallas Cowboys stuff. You would think that Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, and Saquon Barkley are all going to the Cowboys, which is ludicrous and never going to happen.
Well, everyone thinks everything. They're like, well, with this happening and that happening, that means they're going. And it's like, now, in reality, their drunk manager just hasn't signed or made a phone call yet. It's never what you think.
Right.
But it is interesting to listen to because fans overreacting is one of the best parts of the offseason because it's about all you got.
Exactly.
Different teams' fan bases in uproar over decisions being made that probably won't affect the team in the slightest bit.
Right.
But other than that, I can't think if there's much else going on.
No, that's kind of it at the moment. So, you want to launch into this?
I guess we might as well. We got, about still 30 minutes left, so that'll be plenty of time to talk about this, I would assume.
Yeah, I got a couple little things to drop in at the end. So
yeah, perfectly. All right, well, we're going to go over the 2010 NFL Draft. And I'm probably going to say the honorable mentions right out of the gate so we don't forget to do those.
That's probably good.
But
the big ones.
The craziest things that we saw from this draft that aren't in the first round, I should add, specifically. This draft, T.J. Ward was drafted to the Browns. I think he's on the 49ers now, still playing defensive back, cornerback.
I'm not sure if he is. That might be a different Ward.
Or is that a different Ward? Well, drafted by the Browns. Rob Gronkowski was drafted by the Patriots in this draft.
Second round, wow.
Yeah, Carlos Dunlap was a second-round pick by the Bengals. Sean Lee was a second-round pick by the Cowboys. Yeah. Jimmy Graham was drafted in this draft, round 3. Cam Chancellor, round 5 by the Seahawks. And Antonio Brown was a 6th-round pick. Do what you want with Antonio Brown, but he did have a very good career, no matter where his CTE brain is at this point. Shout out to him for doing what he does.
Yeah, that's crazy. If you just look in this draft, you got Cam Chancellor there with the Seahawks. Did you mention that one?
Yeah,
you just did. So you got Cam Chancellor, and when you think about what was the defense called there in their Super Bowl years?
The 12th man.
Well, the 12th man in the stadium is the fans, but the defense is called the Legion of Doom.
Legion of Boom.
Legion of Boom.
Yep.
So Cam Chancellor was a key part of that.
Oh, yeah. He was crazy.
In the 5th round.
His highlight tapes of the tackles he made while playing in the NFL would not go over in today's day NFL.
And look, in the 1st round, they got Earl Thomas.
I know.
So they got both those guys, the Legion of Boom.
I was looking at that earlier, and the Seahawks had a crazy draft defensively.
That's pretty phenomenal, actually.
And looking back on, I talk about this all the time. If you know me personally, you'll know I always say this shit. But nothing makes me more mad than them giving out grades the night of the draft. Because who the fuck knows how that person turns out as a player, in my opinion. So that's why I've always said it'd always be fun to go back and relook at these past draft.
Redrafts are the only way to do it because in 2010 now, 14 years later.
Yeah.
It's the only way to really know. I mean,
No.
you can't even do it within 5 years,
No,
honestly.
because that's one deal for
Right.
a lot of players, not all of them. And you have people like Andrew Luck who got so hurt that they had to leave the NFL and stuff of that nature.
Yeah.
But I mean, just crazy shit.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, just looking at that, I mean, that's the start of the Seahawks' legendary defense. That's pretty phenomenal.
I mean, absolutely crazy.
You got, I mean, honestly, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but the Cowboys.
That was a phenomenal draft in the first 2 rounds, yeah.
I mean, Des Bryant in the first round and Sean Lee, I mean, 2 guys that started, I don't know how many years it was, but Pro Bowls, led the defense in tackles, led the receiving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
those are 2 names that I immediately know.
And Des Bryant, I remember that draft. I mean, he dropped all the way down, was supposed to go higher up.
Yep.
When the Cowboys took him, the fans were kind of like, but he was such a great value for where he was at.
I mean, he was a great player for the Cowboys, no doubt.
For a long time.
And it's just so funny to see. To start out the draft, the first overall pick was Sam Bradford for the Rams.
Wow. He just never amounted to shit.
No, I mean, he had maybe one good year out of, I think I read 5 seasons.
Maybe.
And, I'm not knocking the guy, but for what it's worth, you don't think of the quarterbacks in that era and include him.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Ndamukong Suh, I mean, look at him. I mean, he's
he's still in the league up until
I think he's still in the league
this year or last year.
Been in a bunch of trouble over the years for like nasty play.
He was kicking Aaron Rodgers, stepping on him and shit when he was with the Lions.
Yep.
I mean, he was solid. I think he went to the Buccaneers at one point. Then came back to the Dolphins, maybe.
Yeah.
Why do I remember him on that Tom Brady team, maybe?
Something there, yeah.
But, his career lasted. He's a Pro Bowler. Mm-hmm. Dirty as fuck, but I mean, he got the job done.
Yep.
Not a bad pick for them.
Gerald McCoy, I think Gerald McCoy is in the Hall of Fame now.
Is he really?
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm not 100% sure of that.
He could be, but that was Tampa Bay's 3rd pick in the draft. Gerald McCoy.
He was, and look at the college. Mm-hmm. 3 of the first 4 from Oklahoma.
I don't remember what Oklahoma was on, but
wow.
I think they had 6 people in this first round go.
Damn, and even Des Bryant was Oklahoma.
Yeah,
that's just crazy. Yeah, and we'll check that out, but I'd be curious to see how many Hall of Famers are out of this class.
Yes.
But I think McCoy is one.
That would make sense.
Trent Williams, I'm thinking of the Williams with the Niners.
Probably. That's who I immediately thought it was, but 2010 doesn't seem that long ago.
Yeah.
But then you think it was 14 years ago, and that's basically almost a career.
Yeah, almost a career.
Averagely, probably, I would have to assume.
Eric Berry.
What a phenomenal safety.
Yeah, I mean, that guy was, you probably remember him from the Chiefs.
That fucker.
He was Chargers and all.
So good. But 4th pick overall for the Washington Redskins. What they were at the time, don't fucking sue me. That was the team's name.
That's right.
Trent Williams. And then 5th overall was Eric Berry for the Chiefs. Amazing player.
And if you remember, he had such a great career, and then I think he got cancer of some kind.
I think
then rehabbed for a year, mm-hmm. and then came back and played another year or 2, I think.
There was something along those lines. I can't remember exactly, but because I think I was in 5th grade for this draft, so I saw a bunch of the tail ends, or if you're my age, you saw a bunch of the tail ends of these careers.
And oh my gosh, here I missed this with the Seahawks. Yeah, 6.
Russell Okung.
Yeah, he was a
phenomenal offensive tackle.
Staple on their line for a long time.
And I think I want to say he went to the Broncos at some point, but a lot of these names kind of mesh together in your head when you start thinking about enough players.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember Joe Hayden.
I remember him very good. The guy was a really great cornerback.
So the 7th pick for the overall pick was Joe Hayden for the Cleveland Browns.
Rolando McClain for the Raiders at 8, linebacker. He got into trouble.
Did he really?
I don't know what the trouble, if it was drugs or what.
I was going to say, he's the first one other than Sam Bradford out of the top 10 that didn't have a Pro Bowl.
Okay.
That's what those little pluses mean, by the way.
Oh, really?
I forgot to point that out.
Oh, that's all right. Cool.
I should have printed the key.
So Rolando McClain, after he got in trouble, he left, I think it was marijuana or something. Yeah. And then he left the Raiders, retired for like a year, and then the Cowboys coaxed him out, and he came back and played like 5 years for Dallas.
Oh, wow.
The guy was like 6'4", like really tall linebacker. I love that guy. And I think he held it together for maybe 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
And they got, again, a high draft pick that went to shit.
Yeah.
And I think he played actually with Sean Lee side by side. And I mean, when the quarterback's trying to throw that ball in the center of the field,
those paws just come right up and bat it down.
He had a lot of great plays. I remember that signing thinking, that's if he works out, phenomenal.
But if it doesn't, that's awesome. So then at the 9th overall pick was the Bills with C.J. Spiller, who's still a familiar name. I mean, he played, was it a couple years ago?
Yeah, I think so.
This year?
Might have been this year.
I feel like they re-signed him recently.
He was somewhere.
I apologize for not doing more research, but, great pick for the Bills. I think he was there for a while up until someone came over. God.
Yeah, I think he moved to somebody else, but I can't think of who.
This is a humbling experience to some extent, trying to remember all these names.
It's a lot.
This guy probably
Tyson Alua.
Yeah, and being a defensive tackle, the 10th overall for the Jaguars.
I don't know if he
panned out.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
And the tough thing is, it's like if they didn't make a Pro Bowl in their career being drafted here, there's a chance it still leaked into when the fans started voting on the Pro Bowl.
Could be.
So it's like I don't know if he really did as much. We'll put that one as a mid-tier maybe bust.
Mm-hmm.
Then next at 11 we had the 49ers had Anthony Davis.
Yep.
Why do I think I know the name and I'm thinking of a different Davis?
He was pretty good. You might be thinking there was Leonard Davis who played for a while. Anthony Davis, he was pretty good, if I remember right. I don't know if he was with the Niners his whole time or not, but again, that's for Rutgers to have a draft pick at 11 overall.
Yeah, that's
great. Pretty high for a small school because back then they weren't in the Big Ten.
Right, it was Big East.
Yeah,
that's
and
crazy.
they were kind of a tiny thing then.
That's funny to think about, but good on them. Chargers at 12 got Ryan Matthews, who was a phenomenal pick in my opinion.
Yeah,
he had some pretty good seasons. I think he only played there maybe 5 or 6 years, but he ended up going to the Eagles. I remember the back half of his career.
Mm-hmm.
He was really good with them too. So
he was.
I really can't complain about that. And being from Fresno State at the 12 overall pick is kind of crazy.
Yeah, he came from the WAC, WAC, whatever that conference was.
WAC.
Brandon Graham still played this year.
Yeah, he did. 13. Part of that Eagles defense.
Fletcher Cox.
Yeah, Fletcher
and
Cox.
Brandon Graham, those two guys have been there forever.
I know. I mean, it's a great pick for the Eagles to last that long, too.
That guy's been a pain in the ass for years. So good.
I know. And
phenomenal.
Talk about the next guy, Earl Thomas from the Seahawks.
Yep.
At 14. I mean, phenomenal pick.
And at 15, the Giants, Jason Pierre-Paul, what's he famous for?
That was like these fingers getting
blowing his hand off with fireworks.
Yeah, so that's picks 14 and 15. Giants after the Seahawks picked Earl Thomas, they picked Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yep.
I'm kind of looking at these notes off to the side. It's crazy how many people traded their picks.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, I guess they were traded during the draft.
Maybe. The notes are a little spotty. The notes were from Wikipedia. I couldn't find exactly who and why did what for what, if that makes sense to anybody. But it was hard to find exactly 14 years ago's exact data. But after Pierre-Paul, which, I mean, great pick for the Giants, too. That probably helped him out a ton in the Super Bowls they had.
He was a key piece of that. Yeah,
not long after, even though he blew off half his hand.
Yep.
Crazy bastard.
Mm-hmm.
Titans drafted at 16, Derek Morgan.
Yeah.
I mean...
Don't really remember him at all.
I don't either. Defensive end. I mean, it really sucks, but if you're not on the offense or you're not making interceptions or sacks, it's kind of like you might have had a great season. I don't want to discredit it, but if I don't remember, there's a chance it might not have been amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a shame.
Mike Upati, that guy had a really good, solid career at worst.
Yeah.
For the 49ers at 17.
Mm-hmm.
Great pick. I remember hearing his name for many years. Just like Pouncey, the center.
Yep.
Marquise Pouncey for the Steelers at 18.
What a pick that is.
That guy played for a long time.
That's crazy.
I think he had a brother that played for them too, maybe? Or?
He's playing now, I think.
Is he?
Because this guy, I think, retired first, and then the brother plays from now. And I'm thinking the Pouncey brothers. I'm trying to remember his brother's name that's still playing. But maybe Mike Pouncey? No, that's... whatever it is. That was a great pick for the Steelers, and they still got Antonio Brown later in the draft with their center.
Yeah, that's crazy. Sean Witherspoon. Witherspoon, that guy played, I think, for a long time for the Falcons and was solid as could be.
Solid. Good for him, honestly. At 19, by the way.
At 19, yeah. 20, the Houston Texans took Kareem Jackson. And I remember his name, but I don't remember him for the Texans. I think he moved on to somebody else like the Giants or something like that.
As we get later into these drafts, I'll remember a little bit more.
But Jermaine Grisham for the Bengals at 21.
The tight end.
He did okay.
He has a Pro Bowl, but it's like, was he just a solid blocking tight end?
I think he had some moments.
Right.
I think he was a big dude. What I remember,
he would have been there for the Andy Dalton era where they were going to all those playoff games.
So I mean, look at that. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, counting Des Bryant, that's 6. So Gresham is the 5th Oklahoma player to go in the first round that year. So they must have won the national championship.
It must have been something.
Yeah.
Especially when that's a lot of their offense getting taken too.
Yeah, you're right.
Typically that's a pretty good sign.
At 22, Demaryius Thomas.
What a pick.
88. So
he passed away this past year, didn't he?
I don't know if he did or not. Did he really?
I think he might have.
Really?
You can talk about it.
I saw one of his rookie games.
Did you really?
At Denver. And it was Pete Carroll's first season as head coach, if I remember right, of the Seahawks. So this is I think this is Pete Carroll's first or second draft as head coach of the Seahawks.
Damn.
Which makes a lot of sense.
I mean, good on him. That's a crazy draft.
But Demaryius Thomas, I remember seeing him play against Seattle, and Kyle Orton was the quarterback for Denver. And I think Denver was like 38-0 over Seattle that day.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and just
beat the
at
shit
Denver and blew him away. Yeah.
Well, it's also Denver, but he did die 2021.
Did he really? Wow,
yeah.
Damn.
R.I.P. Brian Beluga. What? Packers. Yeah, he played up until recently too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Balaga, I guess.
Balaga. I must have butchered that name. But I'm so sorry. He's never going to see this, but I do remember hearing his name up until recently.
Yeah, he was very solid for the Packers offensive tackle.
Offensive tackle, you don't hear about him much, so it's hard to give a grade. But as you're one of the favorite Cowboys, in my opinion, at pick 24.
Yep, we already hit. So Des Bryant, 24. Great pick.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean,
you were a big fan.
when you
met Romo, you had a Des Bryant jersey.
I'm still convinced he's the one that peeked his eyes around the corner when we were in Indy. But I rest my case. We'll never know officially.
Yeah.
But I'll keep saying it was him. Oops, sorry.
One of the most famous non-real football players of all time, Tim Tebow, drafted by the Broncos, ironically, at 25.
Oh my gosh.
So
that was a crazy era in the NFL.
Strange.
When he would do the I guess it was just called the Tim Tebow, wasn't it? Where they kneel and put.
That went on for a bit.
He did, and I mean, he was good for the first season, 2 seasons, then he just fell off.
He kind of.
I remember.
I'm trying to remember when they really played him because
there was one season I think he started.
It's the one when he beat the Steelers in the playoffs, I think, and threw the deep ball in overtime.
Yeah, and then after that, I don't think he played much.
Just never did much.
Yeah. Cardinals drafted Dan Williams at 26, defensive tackle.
Solid player, I remember for many years. Somebody I remember being interested for the Cowboys. 27, the Patriots took Devin McCourty, which is a huge score.
Yeah.
He and his brother played for the Patriots secondary for a long time.
Huh. That's a good duo to have.
Solid players and really good. Another Rutgers player in the first round too, by the way.
That's crazy.
So Jared
Odrick,
yeah, Penn State. I don't really remember him.
28 for the Dolphins. I don't remember him at all. But T's and P's to him. I'm sure he's doing great somewhere.
Kyle Wilson for the Jets, 29, cornerback from Boise State. I don't remember him.
Oh, that's a shame. Javid Best.
Javid Best.
I want to say Javid.
I do remember him for the Lions, picked at 30. But I don't think he amounted to a whole lot.
It doesn't sound like it.
So
shame.
Yep.
Jerry Hughes for the Colts, then Patrick Robinson for the Saints. This was just after that Colts Saints Super Bowl, obviously. I don't remember either one of those guys.
No, not a whole lot there.
And the defensive guys, it's like if you're not doing all that flashy stuff, it's hard to remember necessarily.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it's hilarious to think also that the Saints went with Patrick Robinson and then later got Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, that is pretty wild, isn't it?
Because, that tight end, I guess it was just a round later, so it's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, it was third round. But, that was their tight end go-to for however many years. And then he went to Packers, Seahawks, and back to the Saints for a season or something like that.
That's right.
And then he had that episode in New Orleans, I think, where he was just wandering out in the street.
Oh, my gosh.
Which was something else completely.
Yeah.
But that is crazy to think about.
Let's see, did we talk about Antonio Brown?
Yeah, I mentioned them at the beginning.
Okay.
Kind of just honorable mentions.
Yeah.
But
And then just remembering his game at the end with Brady and Tampa, and
he's
he
throwing his shit
took
off.
the jersey off and walked across the field. It was just like they
Losing
wanted
his
him to play
mind.
hurt or some shit like that. And
Yeah, he claimed a bunch of stuff. They didn't believe him. It was
bizarre.
A scene.
Good old Central Michigan boy that flew in on his helicopter and made a big deal out of himself. And he was amazingly talented to come from Central Michigan.
Yeah, and not to mention do as well as he did with the Steelers for as long as he did.
But, man, he certainly did lose his brains.
I think Burfict hit it out of him in that one game.
Might be.
Where, him, I think it was Juju Smith-Schuster, Burfict, Antonio Brown, and maybe one other person were just hitting each other crazy.
Brutal stuff, right?
I mean, AFC North is what it is.
Yeah.
But, I mean, overall, I mean, there's that first round didn't have many flops.
Not really.
Overall, solid draft for a lot of people, not even mentioning their late round hits.
Be curious, again, to go back and look. I mean, the key is how many are in the Hall of Fame, right?
It really is.
So if you go back there and look, and I don't know, maybe there's 3, 4.
We'd have to speculate on a few of them because I think a lot of them won't be eligible again for another 5, 6 years.
I forget how it is. Yeah,
because
I forget how that all works.
It's a certain amount of time out of the NFL, and then you can start getting put on the ballots.
And we'll do a show on that at some point.
Yeah, we can go over Hall of Fame stuff.
Yeah,
we'll give our opinions on what it is and where it's at.
Yep.
But not a bad draft overall. I kind of expected more bust with how it feels these days.
Yeah, that's kind of that's a really fun way to go back and look, and again to kind of see what you remember about these players, which speaks a lot to how good they were.
Not to mention, the Cowboys got that pick from Philadelphia via Denver and New England, is what the note is.
That's
for
crazy.
How many things had to go right, and that's all for Des Bryant, which ended up probably being worth it in the end.
Yeah, definitely.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
And then how many other people traded? Not very. There's a good amount, but nothing too crazy. Absolutely wild stuff.
Yep, it really is.
Solid. I would say a solid draft from just about every team. Seahawks clearly had some winners there. Steelers, I would argue, had a decent amount of winners there.
Yep.
Saints made out. I mean, the Rams kind of lost out.
They did.
But other than that, it's just funny remembering like the Browns for so many years after this draft were still bad. So who knows how many of those guys would have ended up being great if they just had a solid roster,
right?
Maybe
around them or whatever.
Yeah.
So one thing I just want to highlight when we're talking about the draft. So the Cowboys this week hired a defensive player. Used to play defensive end for the Cowboys. Greg Ellis. He's going to be the assistant defensive line coach for Mike Zimmer, who's now the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. And it's really interesting. I mean, again, a lot of the coaches went with Dan Quinn to the Commanders.
Right.
Former Cowboys offensive coordinator came to the Eagles. So there's a lot of shuffling around there of coaches and so forth. But if you go back to Greg Ellis as the assistant defensive line coach, he was drafted by the Cowboys in the year before you were born.
Wow.
In 1998.
Damn.
And so the significance of Greg Ellis, which pulls this story back to the front, is Jerry Jones had kind of a reputation years before that, the prior year, 2, 3, for making some risky draft picks. And so he'd throw like Joey Galloway. They got him from Seattle. Joey Galloway played for Ohio State, was like a top receiver, speed burner. And the belief was that all Troy Aikman was missing was a deep receiving guy. And so Jerry was just determined, hell-bent to get somebody. And he ended up giving up 2 first-round picks to get Joey Galloway from the Seahawks.
Ooh.
So he just had this poor reputation as a shitty drafter and acquirer of talent.
Right.
And so in that draft, because it was also the draft Randy Moss got picked by the Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
A couple picks after the Cowboys picked Greg Ellis.
Oh.
The whole fan base wanted Randy Moss, but because Randy Moss had kind of a reputation of some, maybe questionable behavior, he avoided him because of his reputation, Jerry's reputation as not knowing talent well.
Oh, God.
And in the process of doing that, he missed over arguably one of the best receivers of all time.
No doubt.
And
for this guy that pretty much...
And Randy Moss, the rest of his career, torched the Cowboys every time he played them. And there was Greg Ellis, who had a good career,
right?
But he was no Randy Moss.
No,
and
you can't. It's hard to replicate
when that popped up this week, I'm like, well, it kind of ties into us talking about drafts coming up.
Yeah.
It talks about Randy Moss, who everybody knows who that is, and pretty wild, actually.
God, that is absolutely crazy.
Yep.
And we plan on doing maybe one a week.
A week, I think. Yeah.
We can do one a week.
Yeah.
And just keep it rolling. I'll get in a better swing of making these. I basically made the both of us little cheat sheets with everybody that's been drafted and whatnot. And if you guys loved it, let us know. If not, also comment and like. But I feel like we could just go through the years, and next week we'll do 2011.
See what it is, right?
And that'll fill a good void of NFL football and be able to talk about some players who you thought maybe the biggest losers were and the biggest winners. It's early in this whole us going back and at least giving our opinion on drafts, but this one felt like a solid first round.
It is.
I don't think we're gonna see
quite as.
I don't think it's gonna be this good.
Yeah.
I think somehow we started with one of the better ones.
And we'll take a peek too. I mean, we'll go back and maybe get a little bit more what happened in the season, and maybe highlighting maybe accomplishments of somebody in this first round to kind of go with it.
Yeah, I mean, find out their seasons, how they did, their career-wise, how long it lasted.
Super Bowl, the rookie year.
Yeah, and I'm sure this little spreadsheet's going to turn into an absolute, just detailed, color-coded thing. I'll get a little better with them, but
no, this is a great start for sure.
And we'll get some more stats and whatnot, but...
So just a couple little things to kind of close out the season. A couple more little things that I thought were interesting.
Fun facts.
So one of them is... Dan Campbell and the Lions, the 2-point conversion was a big controversy this year.
Oh, right.
Right to the end for them, right? Yeah. Including the Cowboys game we were at, controversy there. But Michael Badgley, the kicker, who was the kicker for the Chargers, he was 9 of 20 for his career coming into the Lions season. From 48-plus yards. It
Chargers
was the
fans
worst
know that well.
of high-volume kickers in NFL history.
God bless him. Sweet boy.
I think we touched on this, and I thought he was a good kicker.
We had touched on this only because I found the stat, too, and I was like, it's not that crazy because, sadly, there's a better chance he misses it.
There is. And so they ended up going on 4th and 3 or less, or shorter. They were 75%, 15 of 20 during the regular season. And we saw 1 or 2 of those that they didn't get.
Yeah, definitely.
And they were 2 for 2 in the postseason. So, again, Dan Campbell taking it, from people on what he decided to do and how they weren't still around. But hard to argue with that statistic. And you, as a Chargers fan, have unique insight.
He missed weirdly, and it never made sense. And it could have been maybe big moments. He's not the best.
Yeah.
Maybe they knew that going into it because I don't think he's getting paid anything crazy for the Lions. I think he was just a good kicker they picked up, opposed to maybe a rookie one. But once I remembered those kinds of stats that were where he was like Badgley, on the Chargers, and he wasn't that reliable just in general, I'd rather go with Goff, those 2 running backs, that wide receiver core, and Laporta over a questionable 43-yarder even. But it's a shame he has the worst kicking percentage in NFL history.
So I would imagine as we look to the draft, case in point, the Cowboys kicker, ended up being one of the most accurate ever.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even drafted.
No.
He was like drafted for soccer.
Yeah.
And wound up being I would put dollars to donuts that the Lions will pick a kicker somewhere. Undrafted free agent.
I bet you
in the draft itself.
Australian kicker. Knowing Dan Campbell and the program Australia has, I bet they'd go with an Aussie Rules football guy.
Yeah.
Just a zesty prediction to start out the year.
And maybe he's a two-way player, so he plays linebacker too.
He's a defensive tackle that also kicks.
Or kicker.
Was it not Hefty Lefty was the quarterback, but wasn't there some big fella that used to kick, or am I remembering that wrong?
I don't know.
Maybe it was college. Ignore me. I'm having one of those.
You might be thinking of
moments
Andy
where
Reid and the punt, pass, and kick.
Yeah, maybe. Talk about a Hefty Lefty.
Yeah. So, and one additional thing here. So this, again, just some trivia as we close out the Super Bowl. So only 5 colleges have produced both a U.S. president and a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Would you care to take a stab at one of the 5?
Miami?
Yes. Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. I had a hunch because obviously Roethlisberger, and then I was just I don't even know what president that would have been.
Benjamin Harrison.
Okay, would not have guessed that.
Benjamin Harrison. So, would you?
So sorry for crucifying.
No, that's okay.
Hey,
I put it out there. But would you care to guess any of the other ones, the other 4?
Oh my God, yeah. But the problem is that it has to be a good enough program, or they had a crazy enough college career they get picked early, but also an esteemed one enough that they got a president in there.
I'll give you a couple that I wouldn't have guessed, and then I'll give you some hints.
That works.
So Delaware was one of them.
No shot.
And Joe Flacco.
He went to Delaware?
Was the quarterback, which I had no clue.
No, I would never have guessed that.
And this one I didn't, and so did Joe Biden.
Okay, well, it's part of the stat.
So there's that. Stanford.
Okay, I would have guessed Harvard, because I have to assume they're all East Coast, because that would give the greatest chance of them going to one of those universities.
So Stanford had Hoover as president.
Hoover, Cleveland? Or no?
I don't know if that Edgar...
Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm babbling.
But they actually had 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks.
Oh, God.
They're the only one that has 2 Super Bowl winning
Which
quarterbacks.
college?
Stanford?
Stanford?
Yeah.
Harvard.
So one
I know this, but why can't I remember who it is?
Yeah.
It wasn't luck.
So let's see if to tie into our drafting. Yeah. So the team that ended up with him had to trade with the Colts to get him, the quarterback.
Golly. Was it did he win a Super Bowl after the year 2000?
It was before, I think.
Oh, there's no shot I'd get it then.
John Elway.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So the Broncos traded with the Colts to get him?
Yep.
Oh my God.
And then Stanford's first quarterback from the 1980 Super Bowl, the Raiders beating the Eagles, it was Jim Plunkett.
Oh God. I would not have guessed either one of those guys.
Jim Plunkett started his career with the Patriots.
Okay.
So just for...
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Given everything considered.
Yep.
And all the rumors about Brady maybe going to the Raiders a couple years back when Gruden was there.
Right.
I think Gruden wouldn't let it happen.
So while you're on that topic, let me give you the next school.
All right.
This is the 4th school, Michigan.
Okay. Oh.
You just said it.
Brady?
Yep.
Oh, he was the other quarterback.
The quarterback at Michigan.
Okay.
That won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And the president from Michigan, and I only know this because of going to Grand Rapids, Gerald Ford.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Huh, that's funny to think about.
And so the last one, last college is Navy.
Oh, geez. So they were in the... Oh, God. What president... There's no way it was a Bush. They're good old Southern boys.
Kind of the opposite, actually. It's kind of weird. You want it?
No, go ahead.
Jimmy Carter.
Oh, okay.
Which I didn't realize he went to Navy.
No, I
would never would have guessed that. And the quarterback was Roger Staubach.
Oh my God! Give me a break.
So
that's hilarious.
Who again? His I think his offensive coordinator or his quarterback's coach was Bill Belichick's dad.
Okay.
So anyway,
wow, that's a crazy stat.
Yeah,
I like that. That's
very
hilarious.
Unique, right?
Yeah.
So, and to have Miami as one of the hey, go Redhawks.
Hey, go Redhawks.
Yeah.
What can we say?
Exactly.
We produce talent on and off the field.
Not bad, huh?
No, not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's a crazy.
Yeah. Benjamin Harrison went there in 1824.
Yep, that would make sense.
So,
yep, I was like, when?
I think
and
that's
who?
right. Yeah. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
What the hell? What
else we got?
I'm trying to think if there's even anything else. There's no other real headlines. I think I already said Mike Williams probably gets cut by the Chargers.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
He's kind of been.
I like him. He's a great player. It's just he's not out there a lot.
Or something.
He probably will. I hope he ends up not in the AFC West, but a good team. But that's just how those go. It is what it is, sadly. But I'd rather keep Keenan Allen over Mike Williams. So they can draft someone. A lot of the Chargers fans are saying that Brock Bowers is the flashy pick, and I'm like, you need a blocking tight end.
Guy looks dominating to me.
He does, and
it looks like he could be a new version of Gronkowski, but in a different way.
Yeah, and they keep saying people that say they don't want Bowers want neighbors, and I get that, but at the same time, it's like there's always 4 wide receivers in the first round that are supposed to be it, and usually 2 or 3 out of the 4 are. We just missed on Quentin Johnson, so I really don't want to try the whole thing again.
Right.
Especially if we do need a tight end ever since Hunter Henry left. We haven't had that tight end.
Yeah, and you're going to want that. I mean, I think Harbaugh's going to want that.
Yeah.
Again, he's got that college eye again, like we said.
I guess one of the rumors not rumors, but things I saw was that Harbaugh recruited Bowers and then he transferred to Georgia.
Oh, there you
so
go.
I'm hoping that's true, but if it's not, then whatever. Yep. I don't know. I think I'd be happy with no matter what they did. If they trade down and got Bowers and then gave up the 5th pick to someone that needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I bet they do. I bet they trade down a bit.
I think they will too.
Yep.
It'll be awesome to see though. I'm pumped for the draft.
Oh yeah.
I don't have anything else, do you?
Nah, I think the last thing I want to mention, the guy that invented Pop-Tarts.
Oh yeah.
Passed away 2 weeks ago, and we meant to mention it last week. For those of you that have ever waken up with the delicious nutritional Pop-Tart breakfast, I, for one, prefer the cherry frosted Pop-Tarts.
Oh, you can't go wrong with a brown cinnamon, though.
Oh, those are good. But God. William Bill Post, he invented the Pop-Tart.
Yeah, and did that start then the Post brand?
I think it was. And then I think ultimately Kellogg owned it in the end and bought Post, I think is how it turned out.
Man.
And but anyway.
We've already lost too many legends this year.
We have.
It's still early. That's the problem.
I don't know if he got frosted or what and passed away.
What was he doing?
But
no.
Too soon?
No.
Too soon? No.
Yeah, wait. Don't be saying he was getting frosted at the end. That's how he went out. Oh, man.
But rest in peace, Mr. Pop-Tart. Yes,
Mr. Pop-Tart.
Yep. That's
a tough scene. That's a tough way to end the podcast.
That is, isn't it? Brutal.
We got nothing else.
I think we're there.
If you like the draft stuff, let us know. We'll keep doing it. We probably will regardless of what you say.
Yep.
But at the same time, if you want us to go over goofy headlines, I've tried to come up with ways that I could just find the craziest TikToks or videos I can find, then we can go over that for the first half and maybe get a good laugh.
And I'll tell you what, the PGA, the golf world, the golf players, I've seen more videos of professional golfers being heckled by fans.
Oh, maybe we should go over some of that.
We should go over some of that because I forget who it was this last week that I saw, and we'll find it and maybe we could show it or something from it, but someone heckled a golfer or talked while they were swinging, and another golfer chimed in and told the guy to shut the fuck up, and it's
getting outrageous.
It's getting very Happy Gilmore-ish. I don't know, and it's all seemed to happen since Chubbs died. So I don't know if it's a correlation or not, but something strange is going on with the PGA.
Yeah.
Is it the live? Is it? But people are kind of sick of the shit.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Do they really not know that we're standing here? Out there. Oh, you gotta be really quiet. Oh. And the people are like, hit the fucking ball, and the golfers are like, shut the fuck up. I'm telling you.
I can appreciate the retaliation to the call-outs, but
it's kind of enjoyable, actually.
It's good content.
Golfers kind of had this coming, I think. So
probably.
Take yourself a little too fucking seriously.
For sure. No doubt. Let us know what you guys think. That wraps up episode 15, and we will see you all next week. Have a great weekend.
Adios.
Koi Pond